The chefs have to understand what they can do with the carrot peel, what they do with the bones, and how we can turn that into safe, edible food as well. Because again, food waste, safe food, it's all connected. That is one thing I see a resurgence of in education, is that real utilization of all your ingredients. Also, designing your menus so that you're having multiple dishes from reduced amount of ingredients.
Hi, welcome back to our podcast, The Zero Hunger Project. I'm your host, Suman,
I'm Stacia.
and today we have Chef Andy. Chef Andy is going to talk about um, the World Chef Association and what they are doing. So, do you want to talk a little bit about Chef?
We're very happy to welcome Chef Andy Cuthbert to the Zero Hunger Project from the kitchens of the Melbourne Regency in Hilton. Andy's culinary journey took him to the London Gatwick Hilton, and after 4 years in London, to Dubai, a city that he proudly called home ever since. Dubai offered him a rare opportunity to be part of a booming city from its early days and witness its growth into a global hub of sophistication and development. He counts this as one of his greatest life experiences, I bet. Rising from apprentice to journeyman to master, Chef Andy credits Hilton International for giving him the chance to mentor young chefs and inspire them to develop their talents, a legacy he continues to be proud of, often hearing from those he helped along the way. Andy joined the Emirates Culinary Guild in 1992, serving as its chairman for 24 years.
Wow.
From June 2023 to October 2024, he served as president. Under his leadership, the Guild has united and uplifted thousands of chefs in the UAE, helping elevate culinary standards, break world records, win international competitions like the Culinary Olympics and ExpoGast, and organize the region's largest chef competitions, including the Emirates Salon Culinaire. In 2024, Andy was elected president of the World Association of Chefs Societies, Worldchefs, at its Singapore Congress by presidents from 95 countries, a role that positions him to expand the organization's global impact. Professionally, Andy serves as general manager at the Jumeirah Emirates Towers and oversees conference and events, as well as the Jumeirah Hospitality Division at Medina Jumeirah. His wide-ranging responsibilities include catering major outdoor events, often in challenging locations for up to 5,000 guests. His accolades include the Caterer Award for Events Caterer of the Year in 2012, Time Out Dubai's Outstanding Contributions to the Industry in 2013, Hospitality Excellence Awards, MENA Inspiring Leader of the Year 2016, Leaders in Hospitality Lifetime Achievement Award 2017. You really need to apply yourself, Chef Andy. I'm not even finished this list. Inclusion in the Hotelier Emmy Power 100 GM list in 2021. Hotelier Award.
Where did you get that?
I mean, it's crazy what you've done. Are you aware of what you've done? Hotelier Award General Manager for the Year in 2021 and the Caterer Hall of Fame in 2021, all of which reflect a career deeply rooted in excellence, leadership, and gratitude to the hospitality industry.
You spoiled
My
me. You
goodness.
spoiled
Well,
me.
listen, you did it. All I'm doing is reading words off a page. You were the one that actually went out
and
and did all that.
this at the age of 25.
Really, I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still a young buck.
Yeah. No,
I lost some hair along the way though, like you done. You know,
Come
I
on,
got,
like-
got a little bit on the side, you know.
We were talking with another guest and I said, how does it feel to have somebody talk about these things, like, and have you reflect on all of the work, the incredible amount of work that it took for you to achieve all of this? It's incredible.
Yeah, I've been very lucky, very, very, very lucky to have landed in '92 here in the UAE, working for my present company, the Jumeirah Group, but also continuing where the heart really lies is within the young chefs and the cooks. You know, I'm a cook as a cook trained and cook at heart. So yeah, I refer to myself as a cook more than a chef.
I like that.
love it. And Chef Andy, when we in Toronto, and I'm talking probably 20 years ago, we started the culinary salon. We learned a lot from your team there and what you were doing there.
Yeah, I mean we have a lot of our guys up in Canada. A lot of our young guys have emigrated up there. Tony Fernandez has been up there for years. Tony was one of the founding members of the Culinary Guild. Raheel Rathod, who's up there, he's on the Canadian national team now. So we're very proud of our boys and girls that what they've done out of the Emirates. You know, come from India, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Indonesia, wherever, and then to go on to such great things. So that's we're very proud of
That's
that.
very cool. You've had an incredible journey, obviously, from the kitchens of Melbourne and London to leading global culinary initiatives. How has your understanding of hunger changed throughout the years? And how has your understanding of food insecurity changed throughout your career?
Growing up in Australia, we always had 3 meals on the table. So, I mean, so in Australia, we were very lucky. We still are very lucky, and so we would, when we were kids, we'd do the hunger thongs or whatever we used to call it, where we wouldn't eat for a day and raise money with the church and for Ethiopia or Somalia or wherever it was. That was, but that was so far away from what we really understood as kids, and growing up in a country such as Australia with its abundance of produce, its abundance of agriculture, farming, ingredients. It just, it was something that we never really experienced. But then as you grow older and you listen to more, and of course the age of the social media has brought so many more things to us now. I remember in '84 when we all went, I think it was '84 with Live Aid. So we went to the Live Aid one in Melbourne, in the parks, So we went there for a good old dance and a sing along. And did we really understand what was going on? We were young teenagers, late teens then. So I think that, but now as you mature and as you see things in life, I think the understanding is that our role as cooks and chefs in our industry plays an important part, but also you learn along the way. My wife's from the Philippines, and they come from a very rural part of the Philippines where there is a lot of hunger. And when you eat dry fish and rice for 4 years only, then you understand and you hear that from the one you love, and then you understand a little bit about that, what it does to the family and what it can do to the health. And you see, do I see things now in her family and around the village of, the hunger of the kids and, the little girl next door, we try to take care of her. She's 12, but she looks about 8.
Yeah.
And that's basic nutrition that, so where we live in the Philippines, it is rural. It's very backward. It's truly third world in some parts, But yeah, the way that hunger is now, what annoys me the most is the amount of food waste and the things we hear about farmers not being able to sell their crops, and they plow the food back into the land because they haven't been able to sell it, And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are we doing, guys?
Yeah.
And I think it's just that media marketing, if you want to call it that, and the media. And then as we get involved as well from a WorldChefs perspective, or from the activities we participate with some of our partners globally, then you get a much more deeper understanding of the real problems that we are facing and will continue to face.
100%.
What are some of those initiatives that you're doing with the World Chefs?
We focus a lot on the children. So we focus a lot on children, educating about farming, agriculture. We focus on healthy eating and aspects like that, which also helps them gain additional knowledge of what we do as chefs, but also within our culinary competitions. So in culinary competitions, you put a beautiful plate on display, then you throw it in the bin. Oops. So we then modify, and the Philippines is actually a great leader in this. They do only practical cookery where all the food is eaten. So the only sort of display things they do are cake displays like wedding cakes, which aren't edible. So it's all around the decoration, for example, and they do showpieces. But they don't do this. They don't do this static displays where you come and see beautiful platters of non-edible food or food that's been manipulated to look great and to be judged and then appraised professionally, but then it goes in the bin. So, and how we work the competitions is we need to be able to, we look at everything from food waste to the use of single-use plastics and so on and so forth. So a very much focus on sustainability as a whole, I would say, not just one focus. Up in the Nordic, they do a competition called the Green Chef. and it's about agriculture, and it's about local farming. It's also vegetarian. It's also about the use of vegetables, but also with sustainable proteins as well. So there's a lot of things we do within the association around the competitions, which are key for us about how we can promote zero food waste and also sustainability. And then our partnerships, we've just come out of World International Chefs Day, where our partner Nestle Professional is our partner globally for that. And Dr. Billy Gallagher set that up many years ago. He was our president of the association and our honorary life president until he passed away, unfortunately. So he set up the International Chefs Day with Nestle, and Nestle always come up with food heroes, superheroes, but it's all around children, a focus on children. And it's this year was around the food heroes of the tomatoes and the cucumbers and the lettuce, and then but also how to plant, so how to farm your own food as well. And then on top of that, we have our Feed the Planet committee led by Shona Chalmers from up in Canada.
Yeah.
And Shona, so Shona's running that. She's our committee chair, super active, monthly meetings, podcasts all the time. But she's got a great group of our fellow members globally that sit on her committee, and they're very active. So that is, again, exactly as the title says, Feed the Planet. So that she works closely with Kurt Klotsky. He was the chair. He stepped back, but he's there mentoring. And then we work with Electrolux for some of the projects in Brazil. And then we've just partnered with World Central Kitchens.
Nice.
Wow.
To try and see how we can use our infrastructure to help them. We have Worldchefs Without Borders, which is our humanitarian CSR initiative. But is it great to send 20 chefs into an earthquake area on an aeroplane, or is it better to send cash? So we are always discussing what's better in a natural disaster situation. Do you actually impact the place even more by sending people, or can we send through reliable sources money or whatever it might be? But what we've done with World Central Kitchens, they need about 20 of our countries to help support. And what does that mean? Do you have a school that we can come and cook in? Which we do. So even, so it's those sort of connections that I feel that we need to be more focused on than just rallying around, doing a charity drive, get some money, send it somewhere. What else can we do on top of that? So the last earthquake in Myanmar, we were very, very active, sent a lot of money up to Myanmar, but through certain charities that we work with and certain people that we know that our money will go for buying water and rice and oil or whatever it's going to go for. So it's always a food sort of offering that we come up with, and we've got fantastic guys up in Myanmar that help us with that. So it's quite a broad spectrum of what we do.
Incredible, the things you're doing. It's fantastic.
And it's very progressive from where the Worldchefs used to be, and when it's in its very early days. And the work you're doing, especially on the sustainability front, it's absolutely amazing. So thank you for the leadership on that.
Yeah, and I think it's more sustainability needs that broad context as well. It's not just hugging a tree and saving the trees. No, it's what's more, and it's really the sustainability of our industry, but also the food industry. What are we doing to sustain people to work in the industry, but also how we contribute to zero waste, how we make more people aware of it, and what more we can do around that. So education, as we know.
So that brings me to the question about the zero waste and the food waste question. And I know we talked a little bit about what's happening in the farm, and it's how pathetic and it's disturbing to hear, unfortunately, what happens. But from the chef's perspective, what are some of the amazing programs that the chefs are doing to prevent the food waste?
A lot of chefs are going back to what we were taught when we were apprentices and utilizing everything that we buy. So the nose to tail brigade, no problem. But when I was an apprentice 40 plus years ago, God, I thought you said I was only 25. So, we were taught how to use everything, how to use every single ingredient and what it was for and how it was done, and then what more you could do with it. And I think we lost the way quite a lot. There's fantastic restaurants around the world that still do that, the independent restaurants. But I think a lot of the training and a lot of the basic education of what we were doing as culinary students and culinary schools is now falling back to the basics and seeing what else we can do. So for me, that's the starting point. The cooks, the chefs have to understand what they can do with the carrot peel, what they do with the bones, and how we can turn that into safe, edible food as well. Because again, food waste, safe food, it's all connected. So that is one thing I see a resurgence of in education, is that real utilization of all your ingredients. Also, designing your menus so that you're having multiple dishes from reduced amount of ingredients, for example. So you're stretching your creativity, but you're trying to reduce the amount of ingredients you buy, but also what more can you do with them to make them different dishes on each part of your menu. So there's a lot of guys doing that. And then there's people that just do vegetables, and just do, it's plant-based. The Indians have been doing plant-based for years. It's called Jain cuisine, So,
it's delicious is what it's called.
Yeah. So there's a lot of the heritage part is also an important part to understand about food waste. Yeah. And how you cook, you cook things fast because you don't have a lot of wood. So you want to make sure it's easy to cook, so you make it smaller. Yeah. It's there's so much that we need to re-look at what we used to do and how we can start really revisiting some of those techniques that we learned as apprentices all those years ago and make sure that we're training those again.
So we had a conversation with a guest about how he's really trying to push the agenda of cooking more with beans and pulses and legumes and lentils because they're prolific around the world and it's already in so many countries and cultures' diets. And of course, it has positive impacts on the environment and sustainability and that type of thing. How does that then, what you're talking about with these chefs, how does that then translate into individuals and communities? How can that message be spread out to the community at large?
The Indian Federation of Chefs Association, IFCA, led by Chef Manjit Gill, have written a book called The Millet Book.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually endorsed by the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. And that was launched. So this was all millet recipes, but he asked for a collection of chefs from around the world to contribute to the millet book on how to cook. So again, it's through marketing, I guess, and the social media and whatever else you do. How do you make a pulser sexy?
Yes.
Yeah. How is your creativity? I talk to a lot of sponsors and they say it's not just the money, it's where's the engagement of our product? If you want my money, how are you going to engage? How do you engage with these types of cuisine to make them interesting for the mainstream as well? So there's some die-hard people, but when people really look at their culture and their backgrounds, they're actually doing a lot of this already. It's not something you have to look far away from your home kitchen, that you're actually doing this in many cultures around the world. We were potatoes. Asia is rice, So it's really pressuring the chefs also. And I would go back to the education part to introduce the heritage cultures and what more you can do with that. That's why we have our heritage committee as well that is trying to work on these very traditional recipes from the communities around the world and how beneficial they are to the community at large and what they're actually doing. One of my friends from Syria, he said to me, I don't know why we're trying to do food in our countries that doesn't grow naturally in our country.
Exactly.
Yeah, that must be a huge problem. There's a lot of talk in food insecurity and social justice in general about cultural relativity and how everything needs to be relative to its own culture in order for it to be sustainable over a long period of time.
And even economically, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. And also, if people have been farming these lands for thousands of years, they know their soil, they know, the components, they know what grows 100%. There. Like, why are we trying to have people eat Italian food in Syria? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then not getting the right flavor, not getting the right taste.
Right.
Exactly.
To boot. To add insult to injury.
So, Chef, you talked about young generation, youth. I know the World Chefs are doing a lot of work with the youth and the next generation. I recently met your team, I think for the first time at the World Food Forum flagship event, which was fascinating to see that connection. I'd always talked to the World Food Forum about this connection, and I'm glad to see it's happening. So, what are some of the initiatives that uh, your team is doing around motivating the youth and the future of food to focus more on the food security side of it?
We've been very lucky with the office in Paris that they're getting involved with people like yourselves, people like the UN, people like the UNESCO, and these larger NGOs that we're started to work with. Finally, I think that's a big step forward, and it can only better things can come of it. We say we're the voice of food, or the voice of the chefs of the world, or the global voice. So we need to be talking to those other like-minded associations, those bigger entities as well, because that's going to support us. And the youth, back to sustainability, if we don't encourage them to come into Worldchefs, we can't be seen as the old boys club. We need to be seen as a progressive young people's platform as well. That is a big challenge for me as
Lots more
president.
women as well, I would imagine.
And yeah, I got one on the board.
Yeah.
But I've got within the committees quite a few. We have Shona, we have Hazel on the bylaws, we have Vanessa Marquis, who runs the International Chefs Day. So we're trying to break the mold like so many other people are. Right people, right job, people that are available to do it. So we're growing. We see a few lady presidents around the world as well, which is
One
good.
in Ireland just got elected. Very exciting.
Yeah, and in Australia, our president of ACF is Irish as well, of the Australian
See,
Chefs Association.
It
So
is a clean sweep.
there we go. So, and that links back to the young people. So how do we encourage and support, but also inspire the young people to enter our industry, stay in our industry, which is a big challenge, and then to actually look at World Chefs as a platform, or as an association, or a group of people that they want to be associated with, that they think can help them or guide them, or that they want to be involved. So we have a young chefs development team. I was the first chairman of that when I was under 25, 15 years ago.
That's right. We've already established that was 50. Yeah.
So I was lucky to. Well, I was told by Billy Gallagher, "You will do it," along with the then president. So I was lucky to form that for Worldchefs, and then pass that on to Alan Oriel, who's now passed it on to Jasper Jack in Singapore, and then we have a team around the world of. And what is a young chef? We say, oh, well, anyone under 25. Well, we've got people coming into the industry now at the age of 40 or 45. So how do you define a young chef? That's one thing. But the young generation, so you got I don't know what generation we're up to at the moment, X or Z or double A or whatever you call it. So these ones, what are we doing for them? And that is a big challenge. I'll be very honest with you. And is our association geared to young people, or geared to the over 50s and 60s and to retired people? So who are we? What is our relevance to the entire industry? And that for me is a challenge that I have as president, to see what we're going to do about that. But our young chefs committees are, we're all volunteers at the end of the day. So to get young people to volunteer is they're busy, they're young, they're new in their job, so they don't have the freedom or the capability that some of the more seasoned professionals may have, who, if people are running their own business, that's another different story. If they're working for a large company or a small restaurant, it's just different. So we're quite lucky with the group that we've got spread around the globe, and being driven by Jasper in Singapore, who was the president of the Young Chefs of Singapore. So he's come up through the ranks as well. Now he runs 3 restaurants himself in Singapore, quick service style restaurants. So he's a busy guy. He's a businessman, but he does his bit as well. But it's encouraging, so he's sort of like he would be for me a role model for young people of what's possible. if you join an association's club or whatever you want to say. It's also making sure that the national association and the senior association, like in any profession, you take the young under your wing and you have a guiding hand. You can't just, okay, make a young chefs club. Done.
Well, I was going to ask, there must be some kind of a mentorship component to that in order for it to be something that young chefs would be like, oh, that feels important to me to be a part of something like that because I can get wisdom and skills and training and contacts and support. I mean, that obviously must be a huge angle to get the younger generation in.
Exactly. And the Nordic are very good at doing it. Scotland recently have now got a young ambassador in every culinary school in Scotland. So I think it's about 35 young people that are going through their training. So they're sort of the spokesperson within this little mini association in Scotland, which is in the academic realm of speaking the voice, but they're involved with the Scottish Chefs Federation as well. So it's getting them into the National Society early, guided through the schools. And we see a lot of that in Asia, where a lot of the young chefs and a lot of the associations are very reliant on the education, whether that be Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong. We see a lot of the schools being very active in the competitions and active with putting their young people into the associations. And then the old guys, we have mentors and we have people on our committees that what I wanted to do with the committee is, instead of cleaning house every 4 years, if you have a chairman or a chairperson, make sure that person folds back into the team, because we don't want to have the brain drain, and we've seen quite a bit of that. So we keep some of the chair people, if they wish to, in, and then we will be starting in the future a mentorship program, utilizing our honorary life members, which are seasoned culinary professionals, either run their own hotels, run their own restaurants, run their businesses, or been educators, to have them available for young people to reach out to if they want. So that's a work in progress.
You basically need an alumni association, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Right?
I will join that gladly.
Yeah. So I think that's important as well, that we don't lose the members that we've got, but how do we encourage the new ones to come? And it's got to be relevant. It's got to be relevant for the young people. Some countries do it really well. Some countries are learning. Some countries don't quite know what to do yet. And then in transient countries like ours in the UAE, for example, the workforce is quite transient as well. So you don't have that grassroots education of culinary or hospitality taught in the country, and 90% of us are expats. So the 10% of the indigenous population are not always the first ones to put their hand up to become a cook or a waiter or to work in hospitality. Sections of hospitality, yes, but not in the front line, for example. It's just the way things are. We have a number of young Emirati chefs actually within the community at the moment, but that's another work in progress. That's taken us 30 years to get a handful of good Emirati chefs that have been supported by their community and also by the industry. We've seen a whole group of them go out to Osaka to the just recently completed expo, where they went to the pavilion for the UAE and cooked traditional Emirati food.
Cool.
So
that's neat.
Yeah, very cool. So that's really nice.
How do you get people on side? How do you get countries on side that are just not interested in this, that don't think that there's any, that they have no skin in the game at all?
Cooks are always interested in training. Chefs are always interested to meet other chefs. So there's always someone that wants to do it, but it's sometimes just having that guidance or mentorship, as you said, of kickstarting them. We've kickstarted associations in Liberia, in Ghana. We're pushing Fiji again. Vanuatu, we're trying in the Cook Islands, in some of the far-flung places. It's there's people that want to do it. It's just they don't know how to do it. But then also, is WorldChefs reaching 252 countries or however many there are in the world, or are we just stagnant on our 97 to 100? So it's also, what are we doing as an association to reach out to people? And when we see people doing something and we know they're not a member, I believe it's our responsibility to say, "Hi, we're WorldChefs."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Not wait, well, you have to come to us. No, we should be, if we ever want to grow. I mean, so I think the whole mythology of how we do WorldChefs is slowly beginning to change as well. What we've done for the last 96 years is fantastic. We were born in 1928. 2028, we celebrate the 100th anniversary. We have Auguste Escoffier as the first president. So it's not like we've just been around for a couple of years. It's there's a lot of history and there's a lot of work that's been done over those years. But now it's our turn to make sure that we push for the next 100 years, and it's bringing the young ones in.
100%. And Chef Andy, it's really very refreshing to see the change that we are seeing in the World Chefs from what it has been to what it is and keeping up with time. I think that's really important. But that brings me to the next question is when we are talking about zero hunger. In 15 years, 20 years, I am being pessimistic here, but I don't think in 15, 20 years we're going to attain zero hunger in the world. But we'll certainly move closer to it, I'm hoping. And as a World Chefs Association and World Chefs together, what do you think is the next 15, 20 years look like?
I have to agree with you. We're not going to get rid of hunger in 10 to 15 years. Yeah. I think it needs to take more than the World Chefs and us three on this call today to really, badger whoever we have to badger. Is it badgering the UN? Is it badgering governments? Is it badgering each other? It's something that's been going on for millennia. There's always been hunger. Yeah. How we try to change some of this wasteful methods that we have, the banana's not all yellow. I'll throw that one away then. How do we, God, my mum used to burn the pumpkin. My mum could boil pumpkin dry and burn it. Can you believe that? She was the world's worst housewife for cooking. Self-confessed, she used to say, but she would burn boiled pumpkin.
Gross.
Didn't go in the bin. We had to eat it.
Yeah.
So God bless her. But I never forget.
Is that why you became a chef?
I don't know. Well, my mum was a kindergarten teacher. My dad was a motor mechanic. So hey, who knows? But she had a repertoire. She said, "I have my repertoire, and that's what I cook." And we still miss her.
You probably had a few other things going on. To be fair.
Yeah, 100%. Bringing up two naughty kids and working and doing everything else that mums have to do, right? So, I think it's gonna take two hands to clap. I think we need a whole army of us clapping together to get to do something to really shift the needle. And how we can support that is just by being, really not in the face of the people, but being consistent in what we say as World Chefs as well, and focus on what's important all the time. And what is important, it's the education and it's the continued education of the young, and how we as World Chefs can hopefully be involved in education at government level as well, so that we can give our expertise to help and advise, and then helping farmers in our own little parts of the world get their food to the needy, or do whatever it is as well. Even if it's in my little village down in the Philippines where we live, what can I do? What can we do? To help. But hunger, nutrition, especially in most parts of the world, you hear all sorts of funny stories, even out of Australia, that people aren't getting the right amount of nutrition. And is that, from a country that produces everything? How is that possible? How is that possible that, and then you hear, you see so many things on the, on documentaries about the amount of sugar that's put into certain products that are sold to certain countries around the world and not sold to other countries because it's got too much of a high sugar content, and the countries that sold to, you've got higher diabetes and obesity. It's all so linked. Yeah. But zero hunger, I think, is just going to be this continuous nagging of how we can push people to waste less. Even we that have plenty of food don't waste your food.
Yeah.
100%.
Do as your mother said, eat what's put in front of you, and you're not leaving the table until it's gone. And, we about 18 years ago out here, our weddings were lavish. And then the ruler of the country said, that's it. The weddings are going to change to be non-wasteful. And we have to collect the extra food, have it packed up hygienically, and it'll be sent to the workers or the labourers that we have building the country. But also, the men weren't allowed to have a party anymore. They had afternoon tea. The girls could have a nice party, but the boys, no, you have afternoon tea basically. So coffee and dates. Shake the hand and off you go. So in the culture as well, it changed as well out here. So the lavish ladies' party for the celebration for the girls is always very nice. But even that's changed from big buffets and lots of food on the table to more bite size, more set menu style that you wouldn't have never seen 30 years ago in the Arabic world, but even that's changed. So there are these small changes within cultures that we've seen as well over the years, which is really, really interesting. And even the way we set up some people's food now out here, it's to make sure that it doesn't look too ostentatious because of the risk of something going on Instagram, the risk of something hitting the social media. So it's, the more, and we touched on it in the very beginning, the more marketing that's being done about our industry, people shouting in the kitchen, maybe that's not a very good marketing tool, but the marketing of what we've seen over the last, 15 to 18 years, whether it be MasterChef or Cut or whatever you want to call it, or Hell's Kitchen or whatever, great for the industry, but is it giving us the right image of what we want? Yeah, but should we then be looking at master chefs of zero food waste?
Well, I mean,
I love that idea.
I think the thing that I'm really taking away from this, and I ask this of all of our guests when they come on, is what is your pie in the sky best case scenario for what's happening? And I think you've just answered that question. I think a lot of what you're saying is innovation, that you're constantly, the world chefs are constantly iterating to try and take into consideration what is relevant, what is current, what is forward thinking, and that you're not afraid of what the new trends are in terms of social media and online communities in order to get your message out, that you're just going to use whatever the tools are that are current to society in order to push your agenda forward. And I think it sounds to me like innovation is at the heart of what it is that you're doing, particularly if it's an institution that's been around for 100 years. You iterate or you die. So you must be iterating because you seem to be still going strong after all these years.
Stronger than ever.
And stronger than ever, and really pushing the geographic boundaries as well as cultural and social boundaries about what needs to be done to create a community around sustainability and food security. So congratulations on that front, because that's a gargantuan task.
Yeah. I thank the members, and I thank the office and our big supporters, like some of the companies that I mentioned, because they are the ones that also push us as well. If we don't push that forward, and thank you for summing that up nicely. Yeah, it is around innovation and using, modern tech is not going away.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And, we've launched out here a super app called Foodverse, which sounds exactly what it says on the can. It's for the universe of food from the farm. It's about the food industry. So we're using that in Worldchefs, and that's been developed by one of our education partners here in the UAE. So the Foodverse is a downloadable app for free, and it's going to be the voice of the industry, we hope, in the future. That's our aspiration. And within that is everything that you can imagine that we touch as cooks, but also what the food industry touches, from ovens to disposable cutlery and everything in between.
That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
It is fantastic.
And education, and the continued education, but also talking to more people, and with the way AI is moving with just to translate your simple Google Translate now is so accurate that you don't need to really The only one I get people to read is the Arabic.
Yeah.
100%.
And maybe the Chinese. Yeah, the rest is, I send the Spanish, it's great because it's just learnt so much, before you'd have to pay a translator and then it's wrong.
And it means that it really brings a multinationality to the types of cuisines that can be used because it's now accessible to everybody all over the world.
So, Chef, thank you so much for your time. This was amazing.
Learn from what we've been doing for the last thousands of years as well.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, Chef, the WorldChefs need to redesign the culinary uniform and put a cape behind the apron.
We had capes last year. We were superheroes for International Chef's Day.
Well,
There's a picture of
superheroes, period. So thank you so much for your time. This was
Chef.
great chatting, and looking forward to working closely with the WorldChefs down the road.
I thank you both so much for inviting us and for supporting us as well. And anything you need from us, we're only a Zoom call away or whatever you call it.
Yep, that's it. That's
amazing.
What you call
I'll
it.
show up in. I'll show up in Dubai and knock at your door.
Done. Ready and waiting.
Thanks, Chef.
Thank you so much.
Chef Andy, as I said, he needs a cape, and so does the chefs around the world.
Going concern. That man is a going concern.
Exactly. Like, not only what he has done, but so WorldChefs, I've known them for almost all of my career as culinarian. And one of the issues that not issues, but there was always a very slow movement to modernize till President Gallagher that he was talking about when he became the president. Certainly he was a visionary. And now to see that continue, and after that there was a couple of other presidents of WorldChefs, so it's been amazing. And now seeing Chef Andy continuing that, it's brilliant.
I think what's interesting is that this, the WorldChefs as an institution is a venerated institution. It's been around for, as he said, almost 100 years. And I think it's always important with institutions like that they iterate forward and that there's more representation, that there are more members of the global majority, that there are more women, more, LGBTQ, like 100%. All of the different ways, because chefing in particular is kind of an old boys club and an old white boys club, 100%. Right? So to have one of those guys be like, listen, we got to move forward and make sure that we're representing what's actually going on in the world is heartening, right?
Absolutely. And I've seen the last few presidents, and I got to say, the last few that I have seen and worked from a distance and seen them, they all had very similar mindset of being more welcoming and changing the conversations in kitchens, may it be from staffing to work culture and all of it. And it was great to hear about the focus on youth and food waste.
Yeah. And also, I think there's a perception, rightly or wrongly, based on these shows that he was talking about and just what our general understanding of chef worlds is like, that it's motivated by ego and there are these real sort of personalities, the cult of personality, and, and it's nice to see that it didn't feel like that. I mean, maybe there are people involved in these organizations that are incredibly ego driven, but at least they're using their powers for good, if you will. Do you know what I mean?
True, but I think a lot of the ego conversation in kitchens was yesterday's notice.
Is it? Okay,
yes.
Well, that's good. I mean,
and I think it's slowly changing. It's not as fast maybe, but in my opinion, it's changing. When my early days in the kitchen, if you ask any of my staff, they will look at me and say, okay, Mr. Ego is right here.
Yeah.
And my current staff don't say anything right now, but it's a lot lesser than it used to be.
Well, we'd like to think, I mean, they're under contractual obligation to agree with you. So maybe it's a little biased, but honestly, he was saying like, maybe we need to move away from the whole idea of yelling in the kitchen and putting that 100%. On TV. Like that's not the messaging we want to use moving forward. We want to use this more as a vehicle for change and positive change and
I think we're seeing
impact.
that.
Yeah.
But I do love the idea about master chef of food waste. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Anybody who's listening, come on, get it on the show.
I mean, I really think that there is a place in the world now and an appetite for people watching shows like that. I know that's those types of cooking shows and competition shows. And right now, my husband and I are watching this show about getting a Michelin star on Apple, which is really good. It's really good. I love, and they're documentaries, right? I'm not 100%. Necessarily into the kind of manufactured competition stuff. The real competitions and the real, like, they have no control over who's going to get a Michelin
No,
star.
exactly.
and
But
they're
it's
filming
also some of the competition he was talking about.
I know.
It's very progressive.
It's genuine competition, though. It's not
Exactly.
manufactured. And if you could somehow fold sustainable development of all kinds into shows like that, I think there's a real appetite for that kind of thing.
100%.
Yeah.
100% it is. And I think this was a very enlightening conversations onto the direction that the world chefs are going. Chefs are rock stars, superstars.
And
heroes.
there was no absence of him coming up with ways that they are working out in the world and in places as far away as, the Cook Islands, and like they're everywhere, all over, because everybody has to eat.
Exactly. And the hunger and appetite of making partnerships and working with everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
I think that was an amazing and refreshing thing that we saw.
It's a great conversation.
Great conversation.
Yeah.
If you're not following us, the Zero Hunger Project, please follow us for more of these amazing guests, amazing conversations, and looking forward to see you next week.